Diversity, the need to adapt to challenges, the need to have a collaborative working environment.
And you're going to hear this word a lot today because it's true, is collaboration. The collaboration that Matt and I have.
What we've done in the past couple of years together, there's conviction and there's collaboration to dig in and reflect and say why.
When you can collaborate.
I think it's the way they collaborate. We think that their collaboration will result in the right decisions. The leadership, the collaboration, the adaptability, again, the collaboration.
It's the collaborative relationship that Matt and I have.
So when you look at the whole product and the collaboration,
it's a collaborative effort.
Again, I've told you about the collaboration and nothing's changed there. So it's been a great collaboration.
I know we keep on using the word collaborative, but it's so real.
It's over, Johnny. It's over!
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keeping it 100.
Keeping it 100!
Chicago's trading up. 100. Yes! What? Here it is!
Just no competition.
Keeping it 100!
I know we need to run the ball more. I'm not an idiot.
Keeping it 100!
Open competition.
Keeping it 100. The smartest man.
My Chicago Bears select Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State.
Guess who's back? The two dudes that kept it real. The dynamic duo that you love, the smartest man and Dr. Phil. Breaking down the film, never a problem, kick it straight. Most shows focus on stats, we focus on the tape. We keeping it 100, never running east or west. We coming with that truth, cause that's what our fans expect. Cut off the freaking anchor, moving forward to be free. But don't you worry, Shane's got the dumbest tweets. It ain't no secret, Phil and Shane got some haters. But now they're moused up like the true and now and laters. Debaters, straws get kicked like Coach Tabor. Cuts had to be made, we added a barber moderator. Up and down, boys got you double checking. Sad sacks trolling like a fool drunk texting. Flexing on the truth cause you know they'll never change. Real, recognize real, that's what you get with Phil and Shane. 100's what we do when we're breaking down the Bears. Fuck a play or a captain, all of the armchair. The tape never lies, the truth, you see. We laugh, we analyze, so there's no babies like Maybelline. Straight to the truth with acumen and facts. We got a sad nerd, but he's not just giving nerd stats. Car crash, big impact like Max Sack. Every Wednesday night you got the smartest man and Phil back. Now we know you're smiling like a fat kid with fun dip. We're back better than ever and we keeping it 100.
Keeping it 100, baby! Keeping it 100!
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keeping it 100.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keeping it 100!
Keeping it 100, baby!
Keeping it 100.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keeping it 100, baby!
Draft Dr.
Keeping it 100!
Keeping it 100.
Shit. Money Man Marcel.
I'm just a fan. I'm not a football evaluator.
Hey, I guess we're doing the same thing at the same time.
Breaking news. The tape never lies. Network breaking news.
So,
Yes.
going-
There's big news.
yes, I just got a text message, Phil, from
Yes.
Bullets. He informed us that the Bears have fired head coach Matt Nagy. Bullets right on top of things for us. Thank you, sir. We love you, bro, but you're going to get your balls busted.
Everybody's breaking news for us here. No, but in all seriousness, Shane, the Chicago Bears obviously have made a move, and a big one at that, only because the most important position is coach. And I know Cars last week was trying to debate this, but I just feel like if you don't get the coach right, you're never going to win. And that's the epicenter, the nucleus of football. And if you have a shitty GM, you're going to be where the Chicago's Bears have been. To get him in the fold now and to have this new from my favorite guy in Chicago media, a bunch of our friends on this show right here. Here's David Kaplan. And this is the most important thing.
Believe that they've turned over the keys and he doesn't report to Ted. George is the only one he has to answer to. And from what I was told by somebody who I think would know, he told them, okay, here's the deal. I'm doing the interviews, me, and I'm making the call. Don't tell me who Polia wants to hire or who Ernie Accorsi wants to hire or who Virginia wants. I'm picking my head coach or I'm getting on a plane to Minneapolis.
That's the key right there. And let's start with Ryan Poles. Him saying that just raises his name up a notch for me, because
totally agree.
That's the most important thing, that you have to stand by your, your beliefs. Like, we as Chicago Bears fans can't have this same arranged marriage where you saw Ryan Pace, true or not true, be forced into a relationship with John Fox, to the extent where Ryan Pace doesn't tell John Fox who they're going to draft in year 2 of John Fox. It became hostile. And as you get further and further along into this culture that Ted Phillips is talking about, the general manager, Ryan Pace, and Matt Nagy failed epically. And so did George. Now, today, obviously, everybody was talking about George McCaskey driving. I have no problem with him picking up Poles at the airport. My issue is, can't they have their own separate terminal to do this? That's the only thing. Like, does he have to go in there and wear the Chicago Bears Letterman's jacket? But irregardless of that, I knew when I woke up at 6:45 in the morning with a text from Shane with a fan. Shout out to this kid who had the tweet. I can't remember his name, who had the presence of mind to film George and Ryan Poles walking through O'Hare Airport right then and there. No owner, chairman, or whatever George is, a fan, is going to go to the airport, pick this guy up if he's not getting him to sign on the dotted line. Now, we've seen the Dave McGinnis stuff before. But.
Exactly. I think all signs pointed to that as soon as he had the meeting set up with Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota's trying to switch up. Did you see Ian Rappaport's?
Yeah.
Conveniently, Ryan Poles was our number 2. Our number 1 is really this. So Minnesota's in that position of what we're used to, the narrative being changed because they got their guy. I mean, they cast a wide net. And tonight, we wanted to open up what we do on the patron side to everybody, all our fans, everybody wondering, what are these guys talking about with patrons? So this is what we do, pop up. Obviously, we're going to do a lot more with the coach once that's decided, and really ultimately pop up, analyze the Chicago Bears with tape, analysis, and truthful, no BS, no stat boys, none of that. Just real football talk for
right on the bottom of the screen. Head over there if you want all the good stuff, the more comprehensive breakdowns on Ryan Poles, the GM, on the impending hiring of whoever the head coach may be. I assume that's going to happen here in very, very short order. Head over to the tapeneverlies.com, sign up. I don't think you'll regret it one bit. And you'll be very, very well informed on how we're going to be moving forward in this regime change, Phil.
New regime.
The new GM, new head coach, new direction. Will it be the same old Bears? That's what we have to wait on.
Well, so far, so good. This is where I'm at. Obviously, David Kaplan, friend of the show, friend of us, love the guy. He has a lot of connections out there. To the Bears blog's credit, I'm not a fan. He has been all over this stuff. Obviously has a connection, a real one, not some Austin F. phony stuff, just a real connection within Hallis Hall. And he's been all over this. So I give credit to where credit is due. Follow that dude for the updates. Again, I will say this. There's a difference between football analysis and breaking news. Don't mix those two. We're going to be analyzing actual football takes, not
in
having
true
Jonathan
TTNL
Wood
fashion.
David Montgomery's below average.
Just because your mom's hooking up with some dude and giving you info doesn't make you a football analyst. I mean, This is keeping it 100 during the daytime hours, but we ain't changing who the fuck we are.
No, we won't. If you're gonna, the only thing we're gonna forewarn you, even my dad, who was upset with me cussing, has become a little more comfortable on the network. But yes, we are gonna break this down. I want to start off obviously with the news. Ryan Poles, obviously nothing's been official until the Chicago Bears official media release comes out there. But even before this graphic, Shane, offensive linemen, that to me has been the biggest miss of the Chicago Bears in centuries. You know, I'm pushing for Olin Kreutz to be the president and football magician czar that George doesn't want to take with a grain of salt, because we need somebody that understands the emphasis on offensive line play and the trenches on both sides of the ball. Obviously, and to have a former offensive tackle who has a history of the position. And I came up with this on my own, Shane. He's went from being cut to now cutting people for the Chicago Bears, because he did make the final cut of the Chicago Bears, undrafted out of BC, Boston College, which, oh, by the way, Brian Flores, teammate of his, he made the final cut with the Chicago Bears on the final cut downs, I should say. He was released and had that experience. We even have pictures. I sent Bearlissimo to pull some tape, if he could find some BC tape of Ryan Poles, where obviously I think that's where you start, to have someone that places a priority on the offensive line. And I'll say this is no BS. Offensive linemen have always gotten the worst rap. Oh, they're meatball, they're whatever. But they're the closest unit,
exactly,
and the most intelligent of them all. And that's the reality of that. My first job coaching, my dad, I'm a running back. You go coach and learn the offensive line, coach it up, that was the best thing I ever did, because I learned the game so much better than I ever thought that I knew it. That offensive line mentality, the understanding of what it is philosophically someone's trying to do, you start learning the whole process through it. And to have that kind of experience, as well as all of his experience, but his baseline in football, there's something to be said with an offensive lineman. Obviously, he's gone through regimes. So he's lasted Scott Pioli, Veach, and who is the other one? There's another person. But the fact that there's different kind of strategies that he's learning under is so important to this kid's future, because as a young scout analyst, you're always going to do it your way. You always have to trust your eyes. But to be able to be around people like Pioli, Veach, who is the other one? Dorsey.
Dorsey, yep.
And Ken, is that his name? Ken Dorsey?
John
Dorsey. All those three people have been successful at what they do, and he's lasted within that building. So he's pulling and taking recipes from them. Trust me. He would be silly if he didn't. And that's going to, be something very important where Ryan Pace learned under one umbrella. Let's just be a Mickey Loomis, and was that way. And we saw the shortcomings of Ryan Pace. He promised a lot of things. He said a lot of things. He never invested in the offensive line, and he missed a lot up top in the draft where it's so important. And that's how you build your football team.
Well,
Shane.
offense in general, Phil. I mean, if you really want to break it down, he missed a lot on offense, free agency included. And everybody has to understand that when you bring in a new GM, everybody's going to be excited. We understand it. Free agency is a fucking minefield, just like the NFL draft is. If you draft a guy in round 7 and he doesn't work out, there's going to be he's a bust. No, he's not a bust. A lot of these guys don't make it for whatever reason. Not everybody is going to make it. And you know exactly what's going to happen this very first draft for Ryan Poles that he oversees. People have to realize, this is actually late in the process. He may have a completely different grading system for the scouts that are there. Who knows who he's going to keep? A lot of times the way that they work that is they implement the grading system that the scouts that are currently employed are used to. And they'll use actually Ryan Pace's regime's grading system for this draft. And then when they have the entire offseason next year to implement Ryan Poles, so that this is opening up a whole new avenue, and everybody's going to be looking at the draft and saying, oh, Ryan Poles didn't draft the guy in round 5 like Travis Gibson or Darnell Mooney. But maybe he's going to hit. Maybe
Bears
he's going to hit one up
be,
on top.
Yeah, Bears fans have to be better. You have to look at the whole piece of meat. You can't just look at a slice of the fillet. You got to look at everything. Free agency down. How do they attack free agency? How do they attack their own roster? These things are going to be so important. The biggest, though, is the coach. David Kaplan, if you're just joining in, friend of ours, that was the most important thing for me personally, to hear Tanisha, Soup Campbell, Bill Polian especially, Bill, your expertise in football and everything is valuable, no doubt. The way they set up this whole process was strange. The whole group of people that they used was off and weird for me. But the umbrella and the net at the same time, put out was smart.
We don't know anything about these guys overall. We don't,
right?
Just because we don't know doesn't mean that they're not a valuable asset. We don't know. That's why we have an eclectic group here at TTNL. Sometimes, we have a meeting, we want to proceed with something, and somebody can throw out an idea there. Holy shit, we didn't look at it from that perspective. So I think that part of it is valuable. And I think we have to kind of look going into this. There wasn't too many people saying Ryan Poles is the target. And now you got a 36, 37-year-old unproven guy. And now, hey, Ryan Poles' life changed just like that. Now the pressure's on, man. You're the lead fucking dog in this race, and you're leading a franchise. Hopefully you have your quarterback. Now you have to support him. That's number 1. That's number 2. And that's number 3 moving forward after you secure your head coach here over the next couple of days. But
let me just replay David Kaplan, friend of the show, and our guy Kenneth Davis, from the Under Center podcast with Adam Hogue, Kenneth Davis. They had David Kaplan and Coach Wanstead on there. But this is the most important thing, because I've already texted Cap. This is the best part of this news. If you're just checking in, Ryan Poles being a part of the process of the head coach.
That they've turned over the keys and he doesn't report to Ted. George is the only one he has to answer to. And from what I was told by somebody who I think would know, he told them, okay, here's the deal. I'm doing the interviews, me, and I'm making the call. Don't tell me who Polia wants to hire or who Ernie Accorsi wants to hire or who Virginia wants. I'm picking my head coach or I'm getting on a plane to Minneapolis.
So that's the key in all of this. Ryan Poles is saying, you want me, I got to be a part of who I'm working with. Doesn't that make sense? Yeah, we've said it. Everybody said it. So yeah, to Shane's point, we don't know what was going on. Tanisha might be the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't know. I don't know soup. I do know Bill Polian is the only one in the room that's been the GM and has been around this stuff. What my fear was, in truth, was Bill was going to select the good old boy network, one of his boys, and he was going to be the next head coach. And the rumors with with Coach Caldwell being in the building, that all of a sudden Poles and Caldwell, that has been put to bed. That is the biggest thing that I like to hear. There's no, okay, arranged marriage. That's the same crap you did before with Ernie Accorsi and John Fox, who they had a relationship with the Giants. Can't have that. Can't have that. You gotta have the GM and the head coach in unison. That is the reality. That is what's going on. And that, listen, cast the net. Cast the net. Find the right GM. That's what we wanted. Ryan Pace was not it. Ryan Pace was not it. Matt Nagy, this network stands pridefully in calling it out years ago that he wasn't the guy. George and Ted have admitted now they don't know football, but they were in charge of hiring and firing these guys. Now, I feel like Ryan Poles, especially now, who are the coaching candidates? Dan Quinn, Caldwell, Flores. Does Eric Bieniemy now come into the fray of somebody? You're muted, Shane.
It's expected to expand.
So there you go. Eric Bieniemy has a relationship with this guy. That's going to say a lot about him. Those things. Jim Harbaugh. How does Poles feel about that? Poles could say, "What are we doing? How could we not have Jim?" We don't know. We don't know. I'm going to trust that this young kid, former offensive lineman, is going to put his foot forward in his first position. And that's what really you want. Is it Brian Flores? Jim Harbaugh is my number one. Brian Flores, my number two. Brian Flores hopefully gets a second interview here. For all we know, to
both
Shane's
BC
point,
alums, right?
Both BC alums. Before anybody jumps the gun here, I was that guy too. Oh, now we're just Poles. They've decided Poles and Caldwell. This news of the new GM, they've decided without a marriage being had. Now you got the guy. Caldwell's the guy. Thank God. You're building your own freaking culture. You're building your own culture. Let the GM now. Bye, Bill. Thank you for finding our GM. Tanisha could stay. Soup. Great job. Well, peace out, bro. And that's it. George, I'll have pad thai tonight as we conduct these interviews. Tomorrow, I'm looking for General Tso's chicken and deep dish pizza on Friday. That's George's job now. Get out. You got your football guy because he essentially, am I right, has become the president of football operations / GM in this. And I'm okay with that because you cast this net with somebody like Bill Polian, who I trust. They did their due diligence. That to me is a step forward. Now, we've been here before. We've taken 2 steps forward. They fired Pace and Nagy. Then that presser took us 5 steps back. Now we're here. I like the fact that Ryan Poles, they don't even have to change the nameplate, Shane. The guy could just come in and change a couple letters, which is good. If they get Eberflus,
Ryan and Matt are back.
Ryan and Matt are back. But I am very
Ryan and Matt are men of character.
We don't even have to change that drop anymore.
But Phil, this is something that's been floating around Twitter, and this is some Minnesota beat guys talking about the news that Ryan Poles hadn't been hired at this point, but there's no way that Ryan Poles is going to accept the Chicago Bears job without coming to Minnesota first.
Vikings beat writer. What do you make of the Bears also doing the second interview, but maybe more importantly, doing that second interview before the Vikings have a crack to get him the second time?
I think that Poles is a smart enough guy that we're so far down the road here that there's no way that he would be signed up to talk to both the Bears and Vikings and just say to the Vikings after Tuesday, hey, peace out, I'm staying in Chicago. I am known as Panic, as tagged long ago by our friend Patrick Royce. I am not panicked one bit. Bidding war, absolutely. And you know what? Good for Ryan Poles. He should.
Mm-hmm.
So if he is offered both jobs, you know what? Bidding war, dude, go for it. But this whole thing of, well, he's going while Adolfo Mensa's here on Tuesday, the Bears are going to be talking to Poles, and then it's going to be too late. No. This is far enough down the path where being a finalist for both jobs, he clearly, as a smart guy, is going to want to hear what both teams say. And if both are like, you're our guy, say, all right, Vikings, all right, Bears, start the bidding at this amount. So
what's that horn?
Yeah.
Skull. Nah. Peace out,
tuned
bro.
out when we should have tuned out when he broke out the peace out. Like,
you gotta add that for tomorrow night's show. The horn at the very end. Boom, boom. Goodbye, clown boy. Skull these is what I'd say at the end of that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. You know, sometimes these guys, you know, think they know. Let me just say this. We've said it before. We'll say it again. This network prides itself on one single solitary thing. There's no bullshit. We're not meatball fans. I'm calling out everybody that is to be called out. The Chicago Bears entire organization. We're not easy on the Bears. But when you take a step back and look at Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, and that defense, Roquan Smith and Justin Fields, forget everything else. Quarterback, pass rusher. Quarterback, pass rusher. That's why Matt Nagy's gone. He couldn't figure that shit out. He couldn't figure out quarterback competition. He couldn't figure out. Ryan Poles sees, okay, you got edge rushers. Oh, you got a guy that had almost 19 sacks. You also have Khalil Mack, the best pass rusher in the game. Wait till Khalil Mack comes back. I can't wait till all these fucking blog boys eat their freaking skull. Because Khalil Mack was leading the NFL in sacks prior to him getting hurt and having surgery. Just wait till that happens. Then you get a GM in here that places a priority on understanding how valuable the offensive line is. It was what year was it? Year 7. Ryan Pace decided to draft tackles. Year 7. Jenkins and Borum, who have a bright future. You guys know Tevin Jenkins, me and Olin will never agree. Tevin Jenkins is going to be your left tackle. No doubt. I see enough. I can't wait to show you more tape on Payton of why Tevin Jenkins. You could just see it against Minnesota alone. Now, granted, guy got hurt, surgery, came back late, played some slot receiver for some reason. But let's be honest. This roster has a lot to like if you put performance over politics. Hopefully Ryan Poles does that. And it starts with the head coach. How is he going to handle this? Brian Flores, Shane, teammates at BC. You and I both love the fact that Brian Flores pushed back at the owner.
Right. Yeah.
No nonsense. Stood up for what he believed in.
This is the separator, Phil, and this is what we have no knowledge of. How they handle this is the first question to Brian Flores has to be, who's going to be on your offensive staff? We've heard Jim Caldwell's name thrown out there. It was even connected as head coach. I just can't see that being the move for this team, bringing in a 67-year-old guy to start over in Chicago under the circumstances. If you want to sell me him as an offensive coordinator, I think that makes a lot more sense. If you're going to hire listen, there's a lot of chatter out there, and I know the Bears blog has reported that he thinks that it's going to be Dan Quinn. So let's just for this instance just say that Dan Quinn is the next coach of the Chicago Bears.
Hofstra coach.
Well, nothing good ever came out of Hofstra, so let's get off that.
A lot of good came out of Hofstra.
But everybody's fear about bringing in a defensive guy is, all right, well, if they hit on offense, finally that offensive coordinator is going to be gone. I think that that's actually a benefit for Jim Caldwell. You bring in a guy that's 67 years old, I don't think teams are going to be beating down your door to bring him in as head coach next year at 68 or the year after at 69. And this is where you have to be forward thinking. We talked about this the other day. If Caldwell would be the OC, it's vital that you bring in a guy that's with him every step of the way. He had to leave for medical reasons. Who knows what they are? I'm not going to play doctor. Maybe he left because he didn't like Brian Flores. I don't know 100% what the actual reasoning was, but you can throw names out there, Phil. We talked about it on the phone today.
Yeah.
Mike Daniels is the OC in San Francisco. Now, lateral move, stuff like that. I would have
guy.
Yeah, very quirky. He's the flavor of the month with everybody because of it. He is odd. But he was on Dan Quinn's staff in Atlanta, as I believe it was a quarterback coach. Kyle Shanahan was the OC. Now, if you go from the OB and the OC in San Francisco, you have more juice in Chicago as the OC because you're going to be that side of the ball is essentially going to be yours, free and clear.
Exactly.
You're essentially going to be the assistant head coach. Now, I don't know if they could throw that label on him if it's somebody that they're interested in, and that would be quantified as a promotion from OC there.
I've checked. It is. If you title assistant head coach, you can then trump the OC title, thus making a transfer over, which also has to support it in salary. So it can't just be a name only. It would have to be in the salary range appropriately. This is something.
But that gives him a quicker avenue to be coming. If he comes here, he will be gone soon and hit. If they hit on offense, a guy like Daniels would be gone quick to be a head coach. That's just the way that it goes. But even with him, you have to have, if you're going to be a viable organization moving forward, you can't look to scramble every single time somebody is poached or a player goes down. It's that one-up philosophy. You have to have enough forward-thinking forethought to realize this guy, next man's up. Go. You're up. We're not going to make excuses. Go. Oh, Caldwell's gone now? He retired? Our OC's right there. Been learning under him. He knows the personnel. He knows the playbook. Boom. It's a seamless transition for Justin Fields. Not a whole lot of everything is going to be changing. This is what the Bears have never done, Phil. It's always been huge changes. You went from fucking Mike Martz to Mike Tice. You went from a fucking mad fucking scientist to a mouth-breathing fucking lump. You know what I mean? It's just, that's been the Chicago Bear way. Ryan Poles, this is on you now, bud. You put your best foot forward and demanded that you're going to hire the head coach, which he definitely should have done. This is all falling on him now. Pressure's on. And that's,
I agree. I like listen, these GMs and how they're doing, I'm sure it'll come out in the next few weeks by Albert Breer or Adam Johns at The Athletic. One of these guys will have the inside skinny on each GM interviewed gave a list of their potential
Always.
coaching
the
candidates.
First fucking question that they're asked, Phil.
First or second.
Yeah, you're not gonna fuck a secretary is the first, right?
Thus, once you get those GMs right that gave you their list of guys, that becomes your list of people you're gonna interview as coaches. So you're secretly, Bill Polian is doing this. All right, this is Wolf, Elliot Wolf. He gave us 4 names. Maybe they said, give us your top 5 coaching candidates. Maybe they repeat. Great, they repeat. That makes the job shorter. Now you're interviewing the coaches while you're interviewing them. Thus, you're creating your list together. So who impressed you the most? Ryan Poles as GM. Here's his 5 guys that he listed. But we really like this 6th guy. Actually, we like 2 guys. We didn't like one of the guys that he liked. But because he is the GM, he trumps you not liking them. Then you bring that guy back that he liked for a second interview. And you allow him to do that interview. And thus you get to the root of the thing. Why didn't you like him? Now, here, today he's hired. You heard David Kaplan. He's in charge. You don't want to be in charge? I'm going to Minnesota. Minnesota, Shane played you one of their beat writers saying, oh, he's coming here. He would be dumb to not take us over the Bears, who, by the way, if they had a fucking real head coach, would have beat them the last game if it wasn't for Nagy's 4th down shenanigans. Anyway, but Shane has always said this. I'll steal it. Minnesota doesn't put any fear in us. Any.
Never has.
Never has. So when I look at these rosters, Aaron Rodgers if you're playing spades, he's the spade. He's the one that trumps everything. If he leaves, now all of a sudden, Chicago's defense, Chicago's roster with a competent coach, will you just Dan Quinn, Hofstra boy? You got something cooking. And now in all of this, Dan Quinn, his 5 coaches, your 2 coaches, second interviews. I don't give a shit if it takes 2 more weeks to find your coach. Do it. Because it's a relationship that's going to be for 10 years. That's the goal. Not, we've got to come back here in 4. With the new stadium, we're going to be doing this shit again. Your goal should get it right now. If it's a college guy, get it right. If it's a pro guy, get it right. And to Shane's point, we don't know if Jim Caldwell is here because they love Brian Flores or Dan Quinn, and that's their offensive coordinator. It could be as simple as that. So I just think it's very, very, very early in this to pick out. I know a lot of people. Listen, Dan Quinn for me is up in the upper echelon. I would be happy if Dan Quinn. I prefer Brian Flores for the record. Jim Harbaugh over them 2. So it would be Jim Harbaugh, Brian Flores, Dan Quinn. I got to keep looking at my list.
You had Hackett in there.
Nathaniel Hackett. But I think Hackett, is he going to be the guy in Denver?
There's
Hackett?
a lot of things tying him there.
To Denver.
Yeah,
then Aaron goes to Denver. Rodgers.
If that, yeah. Well, there's Rappaport reported today he thinks that Aaron and Devontae Adams are both back in Green Bay, and they'll
really
make a bunch of financial moves and push a bunch of money down the road and let some of the defenders go. But yeah, but that's, hey, we'll you know what? I got no problem beating Aaron Rodgers next year.
Either do I. You saw.
You want to be the best. You got to beat the best. You have to have that mentality. If he's in Green Bay next year, so be it. We'll go out and beat him.
I agree. I also want to address something that I said in my post on Instagram and Facebook, that it's so important that you fans understand the hot offensive coordinator, play caller doesn't automatically become a great head coach. They're two completely different jobs. So Brian Daboll, I don't want anywhere near this football team. He's down at the bottom for me, because that's not how you win. You saw the same stuff with Dave Wanstead, the hot candidate. Who else was the hot candidate? There was another hot candidate that they had to have. Matt Nagy, hot candidate. Trust Andy Reid. Going to come over here. QB whisperer. Those guys don't win. The head coach has to be on top of everything and everybody to get to the point where you're going to build a culture, accountability, understanding that you're going to delegate the job to people you trust. The most important hire after the head coach isn't the offensive coordinator. It's not. You know who it is? The offensive line coach. It's truth. That's how you build this. I saw one of you there. I know Shane had to bounce real quick. He'll be back. One of you there said, no, pass quarterback, offensive tackle. No, pass rusher after quarterback, then offensive tackle. That's how a great culture, a great building builds their football team. Offensive, you've got your quarterback, and we have that kid. I believe in Justin Fields. And I believe that's why Ryan Poles is here instead of going to Minnesota. He's like, you know what? You want Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields?
Yeah,
Matt
you want
Nagy was the
you want a
most
high upside
negligent
quarterback on a rookie contract, or do you want a stat pattern that's making $35 million a year? It's a no-brainer. Minnesota is easily one of the most overrated organizations over the last few years that I can remember. And I mean, I hear people every year after year. It's they're gonna contend this year, and they never do. So
Allen Robinson's gone.
Yeah,
I wouldn't bet he's back. I'm trying to answer some of these. I know AR is gone. AR was taking a lot of shots at Matt Nagy over the most amazing weekend of football we've seen in a long time. Brian Flores again. Isn't he a shit starter, Shane?
Good. Good. I have no problem with that. You know, if you're the head coach, we talked about it on the show the other day, Phil. You know, he wanted Justin Herbert, and
I think you need to tell the story again.
Yeah, it's not even just specifically about that. You and your dad, or you stepped offline a little bit, so your dad and I were talking. And I said, hey, as a head coach, if I'm running the team as the general manager and you're the head coach, and you tell me that this is your guy, this is the person that I need to run my offense. It's this guy, not this other guy. And I bring you the other guy, you should be pissed off. You should be.
If you aren't, I have to question your integrity and your man card, because let's just keep it 100 like we do. I want my groceries. If Shane is my GM and I'm fighting and scratching for a defensive tackle in a 5 technique that I believe in, and Shane's like, I think we might be able to get him in the 3rd round. Well, I need this guy. I don't give a fuck if Joe, the jerk off, thinks he's a 3rd round pick. I believe that this kid is going to flourish in our system. Take him at the end of the 2nd round. Get him before. It doesn't matter. Those things are so important to coaching. to find the fits philosophically, to not. Ryan Pace did something so many times. He traded up for potential. He traded up for the potential. Can't do that. You have to understand. And he threw out the word conviction. Unfortunately, they had conviction on the wrong traits when it came to Mitch Trubisky.
Thing, Phil, your dad and I talked about that also. I don't want conviction and consensus.
Yeah.
I want this guy's flaws being pointed out. You know, you have to take in all these different perspectives and put them together, especially at that position. When you sit there and tell me that everybody in the room absolutely agree, you know, number one, and then you're coming away with it being Mitch Trubisky, well, that's a majorly flawed process. I want Mark Sadowski to be pounding the table and say, no, Patrick Mahomes is our number 2. There shouldn't be this big of a fucking discrepancy that we need to move up one spot. The process was so flawed. It really was. I think they tried to talk themselves into Mitch being the next Drew Brees because that's where Ryan Pace came from. I don't think they ever saw. I think that's what they wanted him to be. So they sold themselves on that. But I don't even want to turn the pages backwards to this. Justin Fields is here. Ryan Poles is the new general manager of the Chicago Bears. We're going to be having more breaking news here over the next couple of days, maybe within the next 24 hours. There's a lot of talk out there that Dan Quinn is going to be named the next head coach of the Chicago Bears.
Let me say this about
just real quick to the Bears blog's credit. He obviously has a direct connect that is feeding him this information.
That's what it is.
And he's
not
sharing
guessing.
this with us. And what he is reporting is that Dan Quinn, along with Dan Quinn, comes a superstar coaching staff. And that's, I don't know what else you'd want there. That's amazing.
That's what I'm going to say. Listen to this. I've been a coach. I've been around coaches my whole life. That's all I'm going to deal with. This network, you could say whatever it is you want. You don't like us, whatever, but we've been right about everything. And it ain't from a source in Alice Hall. It's from our analysis. So I stand pridefully. If it's misconstrued as arrogance, I don't know. But the reality is, if you don't have a great leader of men whose sole mission is to play the best and win every time you step on that football field, then you're not doing it right. Matt Nagy was about plays, not players. Because I can go tomorrow and call the plays at Kansas City. Anybody can call plays in Kansas City because you know what? There's so much talent there. So that puts a red flag for Bieniemy up. Who is Bieniemy? I don't know who he is. Anybody can call plays there. Same with Buffalo. I kid you not. Josh Allen covers so many warts. All these people getting so high on Buffalo. Josh Allen was the guy that I said was the best quarterback in that draft and got buried. Look what happens when you coach. You coach. Now, the head coach is responsible for that. The head coach. So now, Daboll, to me, I don't trust Brian Daboll at all. He's been fired so many times. Look at how he's moved around. Shane's talked about it with Alabama on down. So he and Leslie Frazier, the two Bills coordinators, I told Shane, if Leslie Frazier is hired, I'm done. I will walk off. I can't do it. It's worse than Nagy. And same with Daboll. I feel like that's the same Nagy road. Although Daboll is more qualified as a play caller.
Infinitely more qualified. Yeah. And I'm not a Daboll.
I'm not a
Daboll fan. No, not at all. But he's way more qualified than Matt. Brian Daboll was more qualified before he even got to Buffalo as a play caller than Matt Nagy was.
Exactly. we just keep it 100 here. I love Dan Quinn. This is why. Dan Quinn goes to bed at night having anger about his past mistakes. Given the opportunity, a second chance. So look at Bill Belichick getting a second chance from his experience with the Browns, where people forget he brought the Browns to the playoffs, to going to the Patriots or the Jets for 24 hours, then the Patriots. Look what he's turned into. If Ryan Poles, another Ryan, believes in Dan Quinn and their relationship, that I believe Dan Quinn is going to put together a great staff, because I already know Dan Quinn, the coach here, Matt Nagy, the head coach, not even on the fucking screen, because I know Dan Quinn from Hofstra, and I know he's a leader of men. I know that this guy is going to do everything in his power to be successful and play the best players, and understands that Justin Fields is a superstar in waiting. Those things check boxes. And you know what Dan Quinn is saying? I get Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. Are you kidding me? The things that we're going to do. You might see them go back to a 4-3 defense. You might see a priority on getting a 3 technique defensive tackle. These things, and you might see Akeem Hicks come back. Dan Quinn and Poles are like, you know what? This guy's valuable. We're sorry what happened with the shoe salesman. Let's bring you back. Let's get you back here. You're a captain here. And Dan Quinn isn't going to do the weekly captains. I'll tell you that. I could guarantee that. So Dan and Brian Flores checks those same boxes. We had Olin Kreutz on, keeping it 100, talking about Brian Flores' 0 and 1-man coverage concepts, the things that he could do. Again, it's players first. Players first. It's up to Ryan Poles to get those players, but it starts with the head coach, with the culture. And I'm very excited. I will say this in all honesty. I'm glad they brought someone who is of color into the front office. I am ecstatic about that, because I think it's necessary. And I'm totally going to sit back and watch how they handle the interviews, because if today was GM and coach announced, I honestly would be on here tonight ripping the Chicago Bears for doing the same old bullshit. You don't, as the coach is the most important. So now Ryan Poles becomes that much more important, because he's got to pick the most important person in the building. That's why you did all of that research. That's why you did all those interviews to get to the point. That's why the Vikings thought they had this guy and would do anything because he would choose them over us. You're getting the guy. You have to have faith and belief. And if, as David Kaplan said, from his guy in the building, that this guy blew him away and said, you don't want me to pick the coach? I'm going to Minnesota. That's all. Sold.
Well, you're in the position of power there. If they're, as soon as they wanted him in before he went to Minnesota, now you have the juice. That's when you get what you want. That's when you can not ask for it. That's when you fucking demand it. You hold the juice now.
Exactly.
You're up on the top of the mountain. You're going to come to me and you're going to grant my wishes. And that's, hey, that says about a lot about Ryan Poles, the businessman, and just the man in general. He's exactly. you have to swing the bat when you're in the batter's box, man. And that's,
I'm just a fan. I'm not a football evaluator.
Exactly. Yeah, goodly doodly. He's giving it over to the actual football guy. You have his history here, his resume, Ryan Poles. Let's put that up for a second here. Director of player personnel in Kansas City. What year is that? 2009. I can't see it because of the scroll.
Yeah, 2009, and then he went from the
This is most important right here. College scouting
This is what you want to. This is what you want to focus on, and this is what is infinitely important about the next general manager of the Chicago Bears. If you look up this resume, it's college scouting, director of college scouting, assistant director of player personnel, and then executive director of player personnel. His base, where he starts with college scouting. Why that is infinitely important is because you have to hit your meat and potatoes of your football team has to be in your undrafted free agents first and foremost, and you have to hit on your big time draft picks. You have to do. You can't build and fix holes consistently through free agency and not run into big time problems. That's what Ryan Pace did because he swung the bat up top and missed in epic fashion and had to throw millions upon millions of dollars in free agency to cover up mistakes. And sometimes those didn't even work. So the lead dog now is his base is in college scouting. And Ryan Pace's was not. Ryan Pace was a pro personnel guy, first and foremost. So this is a big fundamental shift for this franchise, and I think it's very, very important.
It is not only very important, it's the most important. This is where you build. Listen, everybody and their brother can tell us mostly about the NFL players, who's good, who's not, for the most part. I would say for the most part, you get some people. That's why this network exists, to show, okay, this offensive tackle is not doing his job like PFF is telling you. That's the tape showing you that. That's my job to do that. But for the most part, you all could see, okay, this is a great Tyreek Hill is an outstanding football player. It doesn't take Chris Jackal's one-up fantasy list for everybody to see to know that that's a great football. You all could do that. The college scouting is where your bread and butter is made in the NFL. And to have that experience, to be able to select and understand that you're projecting talent into the National Football League. You're projecting a 19 to 20, 22-year-old athlete into the National Football League. You're talking about money, mental issues, family issues, fundamental health issues, all of it, injury history, all of that projected into your analysis of a football player. That's the tape never lies. That's where Ryan Poles has made his bread and butter. As an offensive tackle, I was watching several interviews of this guy, Ryan Poles, and I come away with the understanding that, number one, he's very articulate. Number two, he has empathy. You could see that him being cut by the Chicago Bears in 2007, 8, 9, whatever it was, stayed with him. It hurt him. So now, in getting the position of now he's going to be in that same position to now, hey, we're going to cut, waive, trade you. This guy has compassion for that. And I think players resonate, and I think that makes you a better evaluator and you're in a better position throughout the league for potential players that are going to want to go and play for the Chicago Bears, because Ryan Poles, listen, I've talked to a few former Chicago Bears. Matt Nagy lied to me. Ryan Pace told me this, then we did that. This is the reality of what the Chicago Bears have sent messages. At the end of the day, yeah, some people are going to walk away with some sour grapes, but ultimately, did you put the performance over the politics? This administration never did that. And George and Ted were in no position. In fact, George said in the presser that Matt Nagy came to him and he didn't feel comfortable. He did not feel comfortable to say, hey, yeah, I think you should play Justin Fields.
Hey, Phil, real quick.
Absolutely.
Here is some, I always love to go back and hear what teams within the division, like Minnesota, we played that one clip before Ryan Poles was hired in Chicago to hear what they had to say about them. But here is some even more great clips on the Minnesota Vikings and everybody that covers them talking about the situation with Ryan Poles before the Bears drafted him.
Chiefs Executive Director of Player Personnel Ryan Poles this week for their general manager opening, and reportedly the results pretty good. Pretty good.
Poles impresses me because he has definitely, I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt, been involved in fixing some of the things the Vikings desperately need to fix.
The question is, can Poles do more than just the draft? And can he do more than just offensive line? I think yes is the short answer. Can he handle free agency on his own? Yes.
That's attractive. Like he basically played a role in doing things that the Vikings have struggled to do. Now,
keep an open mind, but Ryan Poles, I think the Vikings do have a winner here. So
also where Mentz is coming from, I feel like Poles, while being a little bit more of a football guy, also has a little bit more that you can sink your teeth into as far as his past and say, that's impressive.
Yeah, Ryan Poles' resume definitely got a little bit of a bump. Yeah, Mahomes. Kelsey was a 3rd-round pick. Tyreek Hill was a 5th-round pick. But also the way that they transformed the offensive line, Ryan Poles is a big part of that. So, yeah, I think that, to me, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, I think, is going to be – he's obviously brilliant. I think he's going to do good things wherever he ends up in the league. But for me, just like Poles, I think Poles is the best combination of old school.
So you see the point, but this is what I want.
Now they're changing.
This is the overriding theme of what I want to talk about, and this is where we get our name here. We're never going to praise a guy, and then if
like
he goes,
that,
like that, and then if
like
he goes
that.
to the Packers or the Vikings or the Lions or the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then bash him because he's there. That's not keeping it 100 like we talk about here each and every week. That's not the way that this network was built. And I guarantee you, when you go back and listen to the one guy that does the podcast that's a little out there anyway, he's going to have nothing but negativity for Ryan Poles now. And you're not going to get that here. And I just think it's important to bring that up. We're going to be open and honest about everything. I mean, we're going to point out faults, positives. We do it amongst each other. We hold each other accountable. First and foremost.
We don't hold each other accountable, we're frauds. I hold Shane, Cars, Berlissimo, everybody, Jackal, everyone's afraid of me. What am I going to say? Am I going to criticize that? But I have to keep it 100, and Shane does it to me. We aren't going to flip-flop. That's what real analysts don't do. Chris Sims, fraud. I can go down the whole list of these guys that say they're analysts, and the next week they're saying the opposite of what they said. Even Louis Riddick, he didn't get one interview. Why? He flip-flops. The league whispers. You can't Maserati Mitch and then go Toyota Tuesday on the next day. You can't. You have to have conviction. There has to be accountability. Not everybody in the league is a fan like George McCaskey. So for me, the Flores stuff, that puts a check mark on him. Absolutely.
Here's a little update from South Elgin 25. In that video that I played, in his new video, all he's saying negative stuff about Ryan Poles, saying he not may be good because for picking the Bears or the Vikings.
That's not analysis.
No.
That's asshole. That's just the guy at Dunkin' Donuts who's a nerd and has an ability to do graphics in StreamYard, having a show, and people listen to that shit. Listen, I'll be the first one. I don't like the Bears blog. I have never frayed from that, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to give a person credit for what it is that they're doing in the job that they do. That is the God's honest truth. And that's same thing here. Ryan Poles comes out here and signs Leslie Frazier to be your head coach tomorrow. Ryan Poles is getting buried by me in his first and most important move ever.
Agreed.
We would fucking destroy Ryan Poles.
Tony,
So
that's
there's no
Andy being Andy. That's precisely our fucking point. Then that tells me a lot about Andy. If you're going to praise the guy while he has a chance to be brought into your organization and then promote negative stuff about him because he didn't choose your organization.
Exactly.
That's
What kind
Andy
of shit
being
is
Andy.
that?
And that's ridiculous.
You know what? A guy, Jeff Risdon, who covers the Lions, that's a really good move by the shit. That's what real analysts do. We got to get Risdon Jackal on the show. Jeff Risdon, especially if Caldwell's hired, he'll have a really good insight to him. I just appreciate truthful analysis. Me and Shane have become unlikable to some people that think they know football and have a personality on Twitter or whatever because we call out bullshit.
Chubbs with the comment of the day right there. He's right.
Well, that's the unfortunate thing. That's why we're here. That's like, I'm not going to put Patrick Mahomes in the Hall of Fame because he threw a 2-yard fucking shallow cross to Tyreek Hill that went for 85 yards and start praising him in a manner with which you can't even believe. Like he just threw a fucking dime ball 80 yards out. No, that was the easiest fucking play ever. He doesn't get any quarterback worth their grain of salt can hit that guy running a shallow cross and go for 80, outrun everybody. He outran DBs like they were fucking standing still. Put up a peace sign to a linebacker with an angle. Like, think about that.
You can't even take an angle on.
Holy shit. That was the most
while we're at it, while
explosive.
we're talking about him,
Yeah.
guy, and I've seen it in the chat a little bit. Tariq Cohen isn't on the same fucking stratosphere and never has been of Tyreek Hill. We talked about when he was drafted.
They only are called Tariq. That's
my
it.
God. Exactly.
Their spells different.
Stop with that.
Oh my God. I don't even know what Tariq Cohen is. Honestly. He's an albatross to the roster.
He's an injured running back that relies on agility that has a hurt knee. So that's
exactly. Are we meatballs? We're actually holding them accountable. Me and Olin Kreutz debating. I fucking put Olin for president and I'm still debating. That's what we're going to do. Patron, debate, breakdown tape, the college tape, draft mob. There was no other. It was like Ryan Pace watched our whole draft coverage last year. That's the reality. Patron 222. And fucking drafted the guys that we broke down that said. And that was probably his better draft. Think about it. Jenkins, Borum. What else? Justin Fields, duh. Travis Gibson. I mean, these are guys we broke down tape on and said, you got to get these guys. If he would have gotten Hufanga, because he got Tunga too, as Berlissimo, I'm sure, is saying. I'm so far behind, guys, in the chat. Jackal don't do shit. He's not here. He's in the chat. So I'm having to help star some of your question, guys. I fucking hate the Viking fan. I can't get it out of my head. I'll be honest. The Buffalo Bills loss felt like the Bears losing for me because I just want Andy Reid gone because he's living off the mantra of these immensely amazing talents. And I just was hoping they'd lose. But Leslie Frazier found a way in 13 seconds to fuck it up. 2-man rush. 3-man rush. That's it. Double team the tight end and 10. Then fucking play zone all the way back. They want to throw a little out. You're fucking going back to it reminded me of Lovey against Atlanta. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep. Yeah, Mike, Jakeem Grant is a good
I love
piece,
Jakeem
but
Grant.
he
Can't stay healthy.
and he's not going to be Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's pushing. I believe he's what 29 or going to be 30 years old already. Jakeem Grant is. It's just Tyreek Hill is a fucking alien. He's not just one of the fastest players. He's one of the fastest players on people on the planet. He's different. You saw him you talked about that, Phil, on that angle. I mean, and he's throwing up the peace sign. It's just, I don't know. I don't think the Bears haven't had a player like that. And Darnell Mooney is fast. He ain't Tyreek Hill fast.
Oh my God.
Not on the field anyway.
Let's see. What do we got? I'm looking for some of you guys. I appreciate all the kind words.
Yeah, just
and
throw up your questions. If you have some questions, throw them
Yeah.
up there and we'll start ripping.
Tonight, I will be on with Adam Rank on his new podcast, The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
You're on the air, baby.
I'll be on with Adam breaking down these Bears and other, obviously, all Bears conversation. Not on this show. This was going to be a patron show that we opened up to the whole TTNL community and new fans and listeners to show you exactly what we would do in a live pop-up show with these breaking news Chicago Bears. We're not going to do this on our normal channel when the head coach is hired. That'll be a patron only show. So we're asking
the banner on the bottom right there. It's super simple. You can sign up and we'll be open and honest. It's $7 a month. You're not tied in. You want to check it out for a month, you're out $7. You can cancel it, but we're heading into free agency here, Senior Bowl coverage, NFL draft, and I'm sure there's a lot of patrons in the chat and they can speak for it. You guys will love it. If there's X's with the O's, we literally take you into a classroom with all 22 footage, drawing it up right in front of you, take questions. There's no stupid question. Maybe you don't know what the cover 2 defense is. Maybe you don't know what attacking the seams means. We answer all of those questions in depth. We break down individual players within the draft, position by position, each and every week. Draft Mob is going to be coming up. It's $7 a month, and it's very, very well spent. And I'm not just saying it because it's a part of it, and I'm a part of this network. But give it a look. And if you don't like it, you don't have to stay. You can cancel your subscription, but I think once you're there, you're going to love it.
I doubled down on that. I'm never going to sell anybody on joining anything in these times that I don't think is worth it. If you love football, I believe you'll love what we do over there. Got some amazing guests lined up for the off season. We even had former Bears quarterback, which was one of my favorites. It's like almost every time we do a show, we top it the next week. But Eric Kramer being on the show, breaking down tape, and he's already reached out to me. Listen, I'd like to be more of a regular doing that. I had such a great job. I want to congratulate our friend Eric Kramer. He's been hired as a quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator at some high school in California. We'll get him on to elaborate a little bit more on that. But tonight, Ryan Poles, I saw that question. No, I'm not trading Khalil Mack. There's a way to get at least $80 to $60 million to spend and keep Khalil Mack. I think when Khalil Mack comes back on the opposite of Robert Quinn and then Trevis Gibson with a competent coach that understands, let's put the best players on the field. You know, there were times last season, as much as people like Sean Desai, that a guy like Bruce Irvin and Cassius Marsh were getting more reps than a young kid like Trevis Gibson. To me, that doesn't make sense. So we'll see. Here's another one. Phil, have you heard anything about Jim Harbaugh? No, I haven't heard anything other than Jim wanting to be in the NFL, and obviously the Chicago Bears had put a call into him to wage what his feelings is. If it's $100 million contract,
what the hell is going on?
I don't give a shit. I really don't. If it's $100 million, there's no cap for a coach. There's no cap for a coach. I will stand by my belief. I believe he's the penicillin to what is Chicago. All right. Olin Krutz interview on our Keeping It 100 2 weeks ago. Then Kenneth Davis again last week.
Real quick,
Those
AC
things were awesome.
That's not over. It wasn't over Marsh. Phil misspoke there. It was Bruce Irvin. Bruce Irvin got twice the amount of snaps as Travis Gibson did. Yeah.
In those games.
Yeah.
So if you go back to the Steelers game, Cassius Marsh got more fucking reps than Travis did.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about seasonally because Marsh didn't play.
Well, he got injured and was on
IR.
injured.
Yeah. So the amount of opportunity, I'm talking about in games. In games. Trust me. We've done the research on that. Brian Hennessy, thank you. I really appreciate the fact that you love us. Nerd Cave says $7 is still cheaper than Star. Exactly. My wife said that. She's like, you guys put so much into this. And then we're driving through the Starbucks and she orders a sugar-free
$13
caramel
mocha chunk of bullshit. Right?
Yeah. And
Medium.
it's like $7.28. I go, a medium coffee is more expensive than a month's supply of TTNL. I think that we better up the fucking price.
Breaking news. The tape never lies. Network breaking news.
Text from our man Bullets. The Bears have fired GM Ryan Pace. So Bullets is on top of this news. Thank you, Bullets. Coming in with this brand new news for us. We love you, Bullets.
Bam Bam. This is the People's Channel. I like that, Bam Bam. That could be a t-shirt. Alex Acevedo has been slacking on the Shane Gives Me Names t-shirt. He's done nothing. Dave Tobe, my boy Chris Brown. Does he become a part of the interview process because Poles is a part of this? I know Ted and George's panties are in a bunch because Dave Tobe has called out ownership being an issue on the record, in The Athletic, in interviews with Dan Pompei. That didn't sit well with that. We don't want him, Shane. He called us out. That's the wrong attitude to take. If you can sit up there as George and Ted, and I'm just a fan, then you need to say, unlike Ted did in that presser, I've done some shit wrong here. I have regrets. Ted couldn't do that. Well, Ryan Poles has taken a step in saying, I'm hiring the fucking coach, or I'm going to Minnesota. So Vikings fans, he chose the Bears over you first, gave an ultimatum to the Chicago Bears organization, and is a former offensive lineman who's worked his way up through college scouting to get to this point. Unlike Ryan Pace, he's not worried about his fucking haircut and his waistline and hiding behind anything. These boxes are being checked as we speak. I have some footage of Mr. Poles. Do you want to see it, Shane?
Yeah, throw her up there.
This is courtesy of Mike Catalana of Sports Plus over in Buffalo.
Day to day, month to month, like what is the main focus of your job?
Yeah, I'd say the main focus, to kind of boil it down, is to assist our general manager and Coach Reed in building and maintaining our roster. A lot of my heavy lifting is done through the draft. So I oversee all of our scouts that live all across the country. make sure the information is coming in. Do we know the player, their background, what they're about? Do they love football? Their intelligence? And then I'm able to get that information and hand it over to our general manager and our head coach that we make really good decisions and try to bring in the best players for our system as possible.
See, I love that.
You booked a
Oh,
Sunday.
Jesus.
Wow.
They had to give us a. Could you hear it still?
Yeah. Yeah, you can hear it.
You could still hear the audio of it?
Oh, no, not now.
It's a commercial. I'm going to bring it back because I can't skip it. Here we go. We could skip it.
One for both the Bills and the Chiefs a few years ago when it leads to Patrick Mahomes. I think he's
involved with the
#1
Mahomes
quarterback in the NFL right now. Spectacular
Mahomes,
player for you guys.
Best
But
quarterback.
could an
in the
argument be
NFL.
made that the result of that trade, while everybody would love to have Mahomes, might have worked out for both teams as well as almost any trade in history? Not giving up Mahomes, but all the players the Bills got, and now they've become at least a challenger to the Chiefs.
Absolutely. I don't think you're wrong at all. And, no one really talks about Tre'Davious White was a great pick. Yes, the quarterback thing stings a little bit, but at the end of the day, they got it right. And we were the two teams standing in the AFC this year. So I think it's worked out well for both teams. I love our guy. I'm glad we did what we did, obviously. But you guys have got to be happy in upstate New York. I mean, Brandon has done a great job. Good friends with Joe Shane there, too.
Joe
They
Shane.
built it the right way. Sure, there's probably a little bit of difference in the quarterbacks, but they built it the right way. They've done a good job. And I think for the future, it's going to be, our two teams going head-to-head trying to get to the Super Bowls every year.
Well, they certainly
Talked to
did
Mahomes
in
about
one of the
trying to
most
play as long as
epic.
Brady.
No. He does.
Wouldn't that be something? In terms of your job going forward, a lot of reports, that you had an opportunity to interview with Carolina, kind of interesting, where Brandon Beane came from to the Bills as a general manager. What was that experience like, and what do you think that experience will do for you going forward, trying to get to that next level?
Yeah, that whole process might have been one of the bigger events in my life, and especially as a personnel man. Once you finally put your philosophy and how you want to run a front office, how you want to build a team, what type of coaching you like, the type of players that you look for, and you put that on paper and you spend weeks and weeks and weeks doing that, then you present it in a good way to ownership and another head coach. You gain confidence in yourself on how to do it. But you also have a different perspective on your own team and how you want to move forward in your own career and how you look at your roster and what you want to do next. And someone gave me great advice too after this is make sure you know every situation that comes up moving forward and how would you deal with it and then how the Chiefs do. Because at the end of the day, I don't make the decisions here, but I give my opinions. But write down what you would do in those situations and build off of that. So
Look
you're
at that,
getting
Shane.
repetition.
He's
as a
getting
lead
reps
man in the front office. So that experience has been great. It's given me a ton of confidence, and I look forward to whatever happens in the future.
Yeah, and obviously,
Well, there you go. I just felt like it's so important. I feel like it's so important. Obviously, it goes on. If you guys want to check that interview out, that is the new GM of the Chicago Bears. It hasn't been officially announced. Bullets will let us know in 2 days when it's officially announced.
Breaking news. The tape never lies. Network breaking news.
Bullets just said George Halas has passed away. Fucking news is all over the place. So sad day.
You heard him talk about, do they love the game of football? I think when you're looking at talent, and I was going to save this for tomorrow night's show, but I'll say it tonight. When you're looking for talent, that's the most important question when you're in the college game to ask a guy. Because if you don't love the game and you're getting paid to do it, then your money is pushing you. But if you truly love the game and the money is going to come, it's not going to be your motivation. The game, the pride of the game. As at the end of the day, how great were those playoff games? because their playoff lives were on the line. You could see the energy of the football game just go to where it needed to be going. And Robbie Gould, you know, for everything and all of intents and purposes, obviously we have that relationship with Robbie, but you could see it still mattered to him as he went down and was like, fuck the Packers. Fuck the Packers. And listen, it's hard to find every box that's going to check. Right there, that interview to me is checking boxes off, checking them off for this hire. And the fact that he was doing what David Kaplan, if you're just tuning in, friend of the show, he will be on Keeping It 100 TTNL, Shane. Once a head coach has been hired, he's like, I'm coming on with you guys.
And here is a little bit of an update more from the Bears blog, who has been all over reporting all of this. He is reconfirming that Ted Phillips will retire in 2023.
Wow.
And Omar Khan was never interviewing for GM in Chicago. And Ted Phillips really likes Khan and will likely choose his replacement when he goes. So
you said to me earlier today, if they get their
run
guy and then get Khan, that is an absolute home run of a restructure of the organization. And I totally emphatically agree. I was debating with a fucking Packer fan on Facebook, as Shane knows, and they don't understand because they've never been in the situation without a franchise signal caller. It's hell because you're defending, you're trying to do and win on so many other levels with consistency at that position is you're going to fail until you find it. And I believe the Bears have it. You're going to be in the doldrums and you're going to be inconsistent up and down. Great defense, great running game, good offensive line, no quarterback. Disappointment. Can't win. Can't win the big one. Obviously, Trent Dilfer. You have Brad Johnson. You have those stories. They didn't win consistently.
Ryan, that's already been verified. He's not getting that.
Yes.
So that's why he's been out interviewing. And word is that he's obviously very, very upset with not getting promoted to that position. I can get the guy's name that is supposed to slide in after the draft, but Omar Khan will not be the GM in Pittsburgh.
That is a big situation. Another thing could come of this where Omar Khan takes a president of football administration, operation, whatever it is, temporarily doing the opposite of what George said they weren't going to do. That maybe, just maybe through this process, the light bulb happened to happen. And in their Campbell soup huddle, they said, you know what? To be able to get Ryan Poles as our GM, Omar Khan as our president of football operations, and then ultimately come to the understanding that you're going to build a temple, if you will, underneath that administration where you're going to build up the scouting department. You're going to get a college scouting director, pro scouting director, down and build this out better. That's
going to be
Brandon
the guy that's
Hunt
taking over. Yes.
Brandon Hunt
in Pittsburgh.
This is Cap, and I'm playing this one. This is the last time I'll play it. Only I asked Cap for permission and Kenneth Davis. This is Cap talking about Ryan Poles getting this job and what he said to the group.
That they've turned over the keys and he doesn't report to Ted. George is the only one he has to answer to. And from what I was told by somebody who I think would know, he told them, okay, here's the deal. I'm doing the interviews, me, and I'm making the call. Don't tell me who Polia wants to hire or who Ernie Accorsi wants to hire or who Virginia wants. I'm picking my head coach or I'm getting on a plane to Minneapolis.
And there it is. That's the guy that I want making the call on the head coach. Be in the room. We always go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers finding Mike Tomlin, who I envy the Steelers having that guy as their head coach. He wasn't the choice. It was going to be Russ Grimm. And they had the interview and were blown away. So to have a new voice, a new era of Chicago Bear football, and a guy that was a former offensive tackle at Boston College, has the history in the scouting department. In college, under Scott Pioli, Dorsey, and Veach, 3 different men. He's lasted. He's been groomed. You saw him in that interview talking about getting reps, even though Veach made this decision.
What a novel concept.
Exactly. Reps. I'm going to tell you, I made this decision. And I write it down. And I learned from that. Maybe Veach was right. And I learned my lesson. And the one thing that I stood on the table in the process of wanting such and such a player was this trait, which ultimately I shouldn't have or should have valued. That's where you learn your lessons. This kid has changed the whole feeling for me this offseason. Obviously, I will say it again. I know people have said, he's young, he's this. I don't care. 36 years young, brings pride to the table, showing me that he's ready and prepared to do what his due diligence should. Can you imagine, like, and I as much as I love the Chicago Bear, I'm saying this truthfully, and I put myself in Ryan Pace's shoes, and they want to hire me, but they tell me, listen, Ernie Accorsi's fixing his fucking toupee, and he's like, listen, we want you to take an interview. Todd Bowles is down the hall. Go interview him, and then we're going to fly you to Denver. They just fired John Fox. I'm telling you, this guy is great. We want you to hire him. Meet him, but we want you to hire him. You don't have the balls or the integrity to say, I'm hiring who thanks for interviewing me and choosing me, but if you don't trust me with the keys, then why am I even here? Ryan Pace lacked, and he was, I believe, 36 or 37 when they hired him. So I don't have any age bias at the GM position. If the guy was 56, I'm okay. Maybe if he was 26, I'd have my concerns, but 36 is perfectly fine. He's been around this game of football forever. Do they love football? Interesting question. There are a few guys on the current roster. Yeah, Shane has talked about Eddie Goldman, number 1.
Yep.
Olin Kreutz said it. Are they going to get Eddie Goldman playing like he used to play? If not, Eddie becomes a cap casualty June 1st designation, and he gets his stuff and gets the hell out of town.
Saves you about $9 million.
You cannot bring along guys that don't love the game of football, but you drafted them high.
Phil, real quick before we move on,
Yes.
if you look at the bottom of your screen at the banner, TTNLswag.com. If you're a TTNL fan, you can head over to TTNLswag.com. Take a look at all of our swag. We have a new shirt that's going up tonight. Got polls. I know it's not a real great picture, but yeah, we're going to be selling those tonight because who doesn't need more polls in their life, right, Greg Braggs?
Get the Got Polls swag on.
It's going up tonight. TTNLswag.com.
You also can go over and get your performance over politics right there. And do we have the stats? Oh, yeah, we do. There it is. Stats are for losers.
That's right.
PFF. Living off. We got to make a Bon Jovi song. This guy's, he's good. Trust me. Stats say it. Look at how many tackles he had. No, we all know. Tape doesn't lie. We're going to go to the half-hour mark tonight. bringing
You know how I feel about stats. Really, stats are for losers.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Bill Belichick would know. Nick Wright saying it's 100% Brian Flores, Shane.
Yeah, I wouldn't put too much stock into Nick Wright. I mean, I want to believe it because I'm a Brian Flores fan, but Nick has had some issues with his breaking news in the past. So we'll see. I hope he's right. I think he'd be a good hire, and it all depends on who he's going to be bringing in on his coaching staff. Number one, who's your offensive coordinator, and why are you going through them so much in Miami?
Let me ask you this, because Heidi makes a good point here. Would you rather have Hicks or Goldman moving into 2022 football?
Well, mentally, if Eddie Goldman is ready to go and committed, I'm going for him, just for the simple fact Akeem Hicks hasn't stayed healthy every single year. And it's not just that he's missing a game or two, it's blocks of time. And then he comes back and you get 13 snaps out of him. I understand the leadership, Phil, and him being a focal point that way. But the old adage, you can't make the club in the tub. And when you're 6'5", 335 pounds, whatever Akeem is nowadays, that when you start to get plus 30 and you're consistently injured, that does not go away in this league. I love Akeem Hicks more than anybody, but it's awful hard for me when I have to start divvying up some of these front funds from the defensive side of the football and pushing them over to the offense to get that side fixed out, is to invest into a guy that I might not be able to count on each and every week. I love the player, but man, he's consistently missing time. Listen, you're not going to find a bigger Eddie Goldman fan than me. Do I think Eddie Goldman will be a Chicago Bear in 2022? No, I do not. Do I think Akeem Hicks will be here? No, I do not.
I honestly am being truthful here. I think Akeem Hicks going into an offseason motivated by what Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace did to him. I want to sign up for that. I feel like he is a voice and a captain, and he does things on tape. We did it on X's with the O's in the first Minnesota game. Akeem Hicks did things on tape that are so freakish at his age and injury that you can't even begin to comprehend. Now, if he comes back under an administration like Dan Quinn, who understands, all right, Bilal Nichols is doing shit. Let me put Tunga in the game and absolutely hold people accountable, unlike Desai and Nagy. I feel like there's a place for Hicks because the rotation of captains was a negative detriment to this team. Akeem Hicks was a captain. Roquan Smith was a captain. David Montgomery's a captain. It's very easy to see who the captains are. The locker room is important. It's not supposed to be a happy place. And the coach is not supposed to be liked. So we'll go from there. Club dub, as Thomas. Exactly. Club fucking dub. Can we get a t-shirt that says club done? Something like that. The club has been closed, Acevedo. Sincerely, the club. No more, no polls, son, with polls in the club. It's been closed. I'll figure it out. But yeah, looking at this hire, let's go real quick through the potential coaching candidates that they've interviewed. Obviously, Eberflus, Caldwell.
I still
Quinn.
gotta think that Caldwell is more so of an OC,
offensive coordinator.
And if you've settled on Dan Quinn, maybe
Yes.
you believe in
I
Jim
love
Caldwell as OC.
Mhm.
So, if you're gonna have Dan Quinn in here, there's reports that Jim Caldwell was in Hallis Hall today.
Yes.
Obviously, Ryan Poles is there. Maybe they do not have a history, so he's sitting down with him to talk, to say, hey, what went on in Miami with Brian Flores? Maybe that opens the door for Brian Flores. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I think what's going to happen is if the Bears do hire Jim Caldwell as head coach, I think immediately with 95% of the fan base, Ryan Poles is going to be stained, and they're going to say that Jim Caldwell was forced upon him, and that wasn't his guy, and that was who George and Ted and Polian wanted. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, he held his ground and said, no, I'm running the show. And supposedly it's going to be a one-man show on this head coaching search. It's Ryan Poles doing it all, leading it up. So
they're handing the baton to Ryan Poles.
I don't think they're handing it to him. He fucking took it and told him,
I love that.
Yeah. I don't think they said here. I think he said, no, you give me that, or I'm going up north to Minnesota. And that's the right move. That's the conviction that you want from a young guy coming into an organization.
Mm-hmm.
They know that he's not fucking around. And like I said, when you're up to fucking bat, you got to swing. You got to swing. And that's the first positive for Ryan Poles in day one of this regime change under him.
Absolutely. What Kaplan said, I said, is the most important. And then obviously his resume, his history, the personality that we showed, everything about this seems to be the complete, utter opposite of trust us. We know what we're doing, Ryan Pace. I never was a Ryan Pace fan, Shane more than I was. But, it isn't. I saw a lot of hits there in the middle rounds, but where you're winning is the knockout punches, developing talent, finding the right quarterback. Will all live in misery with Watson, Mahomes miss. We'll all live there.
TTNLswag.com, the Got Polls t-shirts are now live.
Head
over there and order them up. Go ahead. Got Polls.
First guy wearing one and sends me a picture, I will send them.
Yeah, you know what? First person that can reach out to me on Twitter with your receipt showing that you bought the Got Polls t-shirt from the TTNL swag, we will be in contact and you will be a special guest on Keeping It 100 at a future date.
Get them on the show. Here's the coaches that have been hired. Have been interviewed. There's not been one coach named or hired in the NFL yet with all these vacancies. And now New Orleans is now in the coaching game because Sean Payton has said he is taking a leave from the Saints position. He is not coming to Chicago. In fact, there was an indictment, Shane. I don't know if you want to break that news, but before Bullets does on Saturday, I'll tell you today.
Bullets reporting President Kennedy has been assassinated.
But our guy, Sean Payton, says he doesn't like how the Chicago Bears front office has been run. So he's talking about the past. So he had no interest in becoming a Chicago Bear.
Listen, going back to what I always say in most of these shows, especially when it's pertaining to the NFL, when you're not going to hire my guy, Sean Payton and Jeff Ireland, who interviewed for the job here, I think that says a lot. Probably he was waiting. Do you think it's any coincidence that this news breaks when it's official that Jeff Ireland isn't going to be getting the general manager job in Chicago? That Sean Payton, officially announces his retirement from the NFL. I'm not saying for sure, but I wouldn't count that out.
Yeah,
I
that
think
could have been because George
absolutely.
was upset, apparently.
Yeah.
That Sean didn't want any part of it, as well as him waiting for next year to go become the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
And that's the way that works.
Right?
So he's under contract. So New Orleans has to release him from that contract because they own his rights. So the way that works is even with if you're an athlete. So if you sign a 3-year contract, you play 2 years, and then in year 3, you're like, all right, I'm going to retire. So you get the guaranteed money. You're getting that portion of it. They can go back for a small percentage of it. But that team that you signed the 3-year contract with you paid you. They own your rights for 3 years. It could be 5 years down the line. They still own your rights. So the New Orleans Saints have to release him from that for him to be a free agent. For him to get out of that officially, the team is going to have to come to New Orleans and say, hey, we are willing to present a compensation package, most likely draft picks, to assume the contract of Sean Payton, and then that would also come with a lucrative contract extension.
Yes, if you put the code BHL20, you'll get 20% off or free shipping, because you know Steven Johnson loves free shipping. He does. He really does. So Sean Payton is a no. So let me read the guys that are a yes that want the Jim Harbaugh, Brian Flores, Todd Bowles, Nathaniel Hackett, Matt Eberflus, Byron Leftwich, Dan Quinn, Jim Caldwell, Brian Dable, Dennis Allen, who's interviewing today, Leslie Frazier. I wonder if Poles is interviewing Dennis. He must be. And Doug Peterson.
No, Dennis Allen is not there. Dennis Allen was at the presser for Sean Payton today. To me, he's a shoo-in to be the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints.
That's a great point. So he might have skipped out of the Bears interview.
Well,
they could do it on Zoom, but yeah, if he's a shoo-in
I wouldn't say he skipped out.
Wink,
I think a lot of these guys like Dodds, you can pull out when you catch wind that you're not the leading contender and try to save face that way. I know the Bears took a lot of heat in saying that Dodds pulled out because he didn't like the structure in Chicago, but he's heavily invested in Vegas and their opening at GM. That's where he got his start, was with the Raiders. So, like I said, poker. There's a lot of poker involved in the NFL, just like with any professional sport.
I Am Smoke is reporting it was officially canceled. So there you go, to Shane's point. Good job, Smoke. Will there be more candidates? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that those guys have changed the game, unless, I'm telling you, in all honesty, in the interview process, Ryan Poles, the new GM, had his list of 5, whatever their number was. And that became the priority to get a jump on first interviews with the group. They kind of sorted it out. I hope Ryan Poles says, I'm just going to use Brian Flores. The group didn't really like Brian Flores, but Ryan Poles does like Brian Flores. And Ryan Poles should say, listen, bringing him in for another interview. I want to talk about some of this would be the best.
Cap says no to what, Joe?
This would be the best thing for Ryan Poles to do, is say, hey, what didn't you like about Brian Flores? Because I really, truly think this is a great football coach, and this is why. Well, we didn't like this, this, and this. Perfect. I'm going to take those things you didn't like and directly ask him about them. If I don't like the answers he's given, I got you. I'm right there for you. 100%. So those are the things I want to see from my new GM.
Give me some fucking names.
Yes. Right. We're giving you a bunch of names tonight. here on the surprise pop-up show, the new general manager, Ryan Poles of your Chicago Bears. The official word hasn't come out yet, but anytime our guy Adam Schefter reports it, and I believe everybody else has followed suit, you know that something clearly is going down. And shout out to the Bears blog, who has been covering his Chicago Bears with the information that's obviously someone in Hallis Hall is the source to tell him what exactly is going on, and thus that's what it is.
Does it rhyme with Schmed Schmillups?
I believe it does. Yes, I do. I believe it does rhyme with Ted Phillips. Schmed Phillips.
So we
can only imagine the smells coming out of that thing, but
we do have submissions to the Bulls t-shirt, but we
already got them.
I'm gonna have to go through the timestamps to see who was officially the number one, because I have some DMs, I have some texts.
The hiring of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, I don't regret that.
Well, that's your problem, Ted. We regret having you as the president and CEO of the Chicago Bears. Shane, final thoughts here.
Hey, it's a new day, new direction. Now the next big thing is you got to lock in the best leader, I feel, for this franchise that can change this culture. It's not even just the bad attitudes, Phil. It's the losing. You got to get back to the point where when you look at this team going out on the field, that you don't say to yourself, well, maybe if this and this and this and this goes right, we can win. You want to say to yourself, we're going to go out there and we're going to fucking win today because I believe in the product that's out there. That's what you need from your fucking leadership. There is no swag with this fucking team. It's these 13 things have to go in order for us to have a chance to win. Got to get away from that. Is Dan Quinn going to be the answer there? We'll see. Is Brian Flores going to be the answer there? We'll see. Is Jim Caldwell going to be the answer? We'll see. Same with Eberflus. Is it going to be somebody outside the box? Is he going to surprise everybody and Kevin O'Connell is the next head coach of the Chicago Bears? I don't think any of that is out of play right now. I really don't.
And on top of that, it honestly could be as simple as him saying, hey, I love Dan Quinn. He's my guy. I don't think we need to do much else. That's the guy I want here. It could be that. It could be him saying that and thus wanting that to happen and thus stamping his stamp to his football team as they've given the keys to the car to him going forward. That is okay. If he's involved in the interview process and he comes away feeling like that, I'm all for it. Honestly, I believe in this kid based on what it is that he has said. Look at him, former Bear, Shane, too.
He has something stuck in his nose in that picture?
He put weight on there.
Oh, well, offensive lineman, bro.
He was ready out of BC. He's wearing number 70. Number 70. Who was that defensive tackle?
Alfonso Boone.
There it is, Alfonso Boone. How did you know? You were reading my mind. I was trying to think.
Bro.
Alfonso Boone. Can we get him on the show?
So, Phil, I will, and I've been looking at the timestamps, and we had two that were very, very close. Ryan Cox, friend of the show, was not the winner. He lost by a few seconds.
There you go.
Believe it or not. But our guy, Jason Onstad, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name perfectly. Did I say it the right way, Jason?
There he is.
Jason, so you have my number, so we will figure out a time. It's not going to be tomorrow night, so shut the fuck up with that. You're not coming on tomorrow night, Jason. I'm kidding. You're definitely not coming on tomorrow night, but we will figure out a future date with you to get you on the show. And all I'm going to say is buckle up, because you're going to get your fucking balls busted. There's no crying on TTNL. The only people that do that are Jackal and Claudio. So
it could be a double doozy tomorrow night with a coach, a GM. Could be both. I don't know. We never know with a new GM. I mean, we don't know his
we're
style.
not going to fuck with Jason. He's a big boy. He ordered the 3X. So we're not going to piss him off too much.
He got the 3X. Well, tomorrow night, you could be a double X. JJ Stankovitz is going to jump on and talk with us about some Eberflus. Obviously, he was going to come on and talk about Morocco Brown, and we've already got. And we've already
so if
got.
they hire a different coach, not Eberflus, we should just fuck with JJ and be like, yeah, we don't really fucking need you, man. So go back to Indy. I'm kidding.
Kenneth Davis is also going to jump on the show. He was supposed to jump on tonight. He had a little issue running late, picking up the kids. Obviously, we went earlier. So Kenneth Davis will come on and talk a little bit about the new GM from his perspective. He had a great interview with Kaplan, Wanstedt, and Adam Hogue. Hopefully we can get Adam Hogue on our show. We've all been very supportive of Adam, except for his Kellen Mond take. But hopefully we can get him on the show. I'd like to speak to him about what he thinks this new direction. Let's all start over here as Chicago Bears.
Good place to wrap it up, though, Phil. I'm getting some pressure from my general manager upstairs.
I gotta go too.
To hurry the fuck up. So
I will.
If anything breaks, we'll be back.
We'll be back.
We'll be back tonight.
I'm definitely going to be back with Adam Rank. I hope all of you guys come over there to the Rank, the Sick podcast with Adam Rank. I'll be on there talking about this situation, a lot of Bears talk. I ask that you please come over there, subscribe to our guys' channel, and show Adam what DDP, TTNL, the smartest man, and all of you TTNL Hundo crew and all of you mean to the Chicago Bears.
I said, hey, oh, baby, oh, bring that fat ass over here. I want to get it in my mouth. I want to get it in my mouth. Oh, I want to suck on your fat ass. Gotta suck on that ass, baby. You're on the air, baby. You're on.
We'll be back tomorrow night. JJ, Kenneth, all of the crew. Cars. What does Cars think?
Jackal. What time is the show on tonight, Phil? Give him the time.
That'll be at 8 East, 8 o'clock East. So I got to go eat.
What time is that in London?
I have no idea anymore. I don't know.
It's a joke. We know the time.
8 o'clock East, the Sick podcast with Adam Rank. I'll be there. I hope to see you, Jeff Roth, and a bunch of others of the TTNL heads. Love you guys. God bless you. We got a new GM and a new era. We're going to be covering it like nobody else does. Become a patron. Go over to the swag shop. Follow Shane right there at Shane Marceau on Twitter.
Weird.
Get his followers up. I don't even know how many you have.
I know. I was at 5,000 until they took my account away. So if you're not following me, at Shane Marceau on Twitter.
There you go.
Fucking amazing follow. Sass Bragg's mom. Fucking loves me.
Now, with the 43rd pick.
He skips the square as well.
His eyes are right on the target.
Eyes are on the target. Watch his hand come up, takes the outside shoulder, then puts the inside hand
then
on. His post leg is in the right position. He's got control of his guy. He's going nowhere. You can see Javon Holland there. He's obviously got more swag because he has 3 on his arm, whereas Thomas Graham only has 2. So you can. That's the way we do analysis.
So fucking, these blog boys are so fucking dumb. To have a confident cornerback that understands coverages and responsibilities.
respect to this thing of ours. Yeah.
Forget about it. Forget about it.
That'll be the draft mob coverage, bringing you back on Patreon. All of this stuff, X's with the O's, all of the insight, even some fantasy, special guests, former Bears like Chris Zorich, Dante Jones, Lemuel Stinson, and more. Olin Kreutz and my dad.
Lost M. Guess what? Patreon number 564, bro. You see how fast
Live? You did it live?
Did it live. I'm always
my
watching.
God.
564,
Big Daddy
bro.
Shane. Big
That's
Daddy, Big Daddy Shane in the house. My
See,
man,
he
my
knows.
mellow.
That's
Get
what-
on the mic because I know you eat Jello.
That's a Bragg's mom called me. Big Daddy Shane.
Hey, the Bears have a new GM. We will be live. Bullets will be breaking news from 1972. It's going to be awesome. I appreciate all your support. Follow.
Breaking news. The tape never lies. Network breaking news.
One last update from Bullets. Shane and Phil are starting their own network.
We'll be back tomorrow night with the crew.
Fuck yourself.
Yes. If you're not there, Cars is going to yell at you just like that. We'll see you tomorrow. For Shane Marsaw, I'm your guy, Draft Dr. Phil, and you'll have plenty of Claudio and Jackal. Hopefully they do shit tomorrow, right?
What? Smoke weed every day.